Hello again. So in the last video I posted, I kind of just rudely grazed over my TBR and went just like tunnel vision into my Stephen King. But to be honest, my TBR has really just been sitting on the shelf, completely forgotten and left alone, as I've just been going solely based on vibes, picking up books that I want randomly. So I thought it would be fun in this video to create a whole new TBR, do a little refresh, and then that'll hopefully make me a little bit more excited to read my TBR. So let's get started. All right, you guys, so this is what the TBR is looking like right now. So my original plan when I did this was I was gonna pick one book from each genre in my collection and then I was gonna read it, because I have a really bad habit of buying books and then just not even reading the ones that I already own, which to a certain extent I don't mind, because I don't want to have a whole collection of books that I read. That's crazy. But I want to be able to read the majority of them and not feel as wasteful and that I'm just like hoarding all these books and not actually getting to them. That was the original plan. Much like most of my plans, it completely fell apart immediately. So I had that, and then I started like the Legendborn series I picked up on a trip. I kind of just threw them up there because I've heard so many things about them and I wanted to read them. Babel was another one. So I was still kind of doing the same thing I said I wasn't going to do by just getting books and then just like forgetting the ones that I already owned. So I think that's why I kind of want to do a refresh and start from scratch. So we're going to take these down. I might leave some of them up just because I really, really do want to read them. Like, tell me this. I don't even know what this is about. But look at this. It's gorgeous. She's beautiful. Absolutely obsessed with it. So some of the stuff I might keep, but I think we're going to kind of go with the same idea of picking out maybe one or two books per genre of ones that I've never read before, and then kind of going from there. So let's get rid of these. Say goodbye, beautifuls. All right, clean slate. Let's go. All right, we are back. So I put most of the other books away. I did keep a few out that I know I really want to read. Legendborn, I've heard so many good things about. I told myself I wasn't going to start another series until I finished a series, but I don't really follow my own advice ever, and I want to read this. So that will be on our TBR list. We'll put that there. Babel was another one I heard really good things about, and this has nothing to do with the book itself, because I started it, and I just like, I feel like I was in a reading slump at the time, and I want to give this one like what it deserves and actually like a fresh chance. So we're going to keep Babel by R.F. Kuang on here, and then we're going to go find some more. Right off the bat, I feel like Stephen King deserves some type of shout out and a chance for me to read some of these, so we can do that. I'm not going to go heavy into a series. I think that's too much. I'm also not going to try to read anything remotely resembling like The Stand right now, just because I want to actually have this TBR be something that I like fully read. So let's do something else. Kind of immediately regretting saying I would do this. No, let's see. I don't want to do a short story. That's one thing I will say is I'm not a big short story person. If anybody has any recommendations for some good short stories, I would love to hear it, because I want to be proven wrong. But most of the time I feel like it's just a bunch of stuff that I'm not fully interested in, and then there'll be like one really, really good one. Cool. I'm already overwhelmed by the Stephen King choice, so we're gonna go back to him. We're not gonna do Stephen King right now. Let's go back, and we'll start. I'm gonna skip nonfiction for now. I'm also gonna skip my history section. I don't know if anyone would want to watch me read something about Eisenhower, but I doubt it. So let's go into classics. Classics are something where I don't know if I'm trying to prove something to myself, but this started when I was really, really young, where I was like, oh my God, I'm going to be so well read, and I'm going to read Gone with the Wind, and I'm just going to be so bougie and so put together. And every single time I try to read a classic, I just force myself to think that I like it when in reality I really don't. So we're gonna try to find something that I might like a little bit more. Let's go with 1984 because I know that one's huge. That one is one of those where a lot of people read in school, and I just never got that opportunity in high school. In my school, we read The Giver, and I remember reading To Kill a Mockingbird, but never 1984. So let's try that. I think this actually might be like a banned book, so maybe that's why. Okay. So we'll move on to, we have to do a young adult. That's without question. No. Soul Shattering. Let's see what we got. The problem with my young adult section is this is one section where I've read most of them, but why not? Oh my god, should we? Am I like emotionally ready for that? I don't know. I've never read Girl in Pieces, so maybe we give her a try. And then, let's see. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna read. I told you guys that 3 was like my favorite book of all time, or one of them, and yet I'm like, coming up with a synopsis for anybody was like the impossible task. So I'm gonna read this one again, just so that way I can actually hype her up and give her what she deserves as far as recognition. And then let's do, the only thing with fantasy is I'm really trying to stay away from all these series, and that's usually what fantasy is. It's hard to get like a standalone fantasy. Maybe I'll read. Oh, this is such an entertaining video. Just me and my like inability to actually come up with a decision. You know what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna read that one that I told you guys about, that I had the second book, and this is the first one in the series. This is called Necroscope, The Lost Years by Brian Lumley. Let's do that, and we'll see where we're at. All right, y'all, there she is. She's smaller, she's cute, but I think this will be something that I'll enjoy. So we have a fantasy, we have a sci-fi. Do you consider this like fantasy fiction? I don't know, fantasy. Our classic. And then, is this even YA? I feel like this isn't YA. I don't know, we'll see. So 6 feels pretty doable. I don't know when I'm going to try to get through them, but I'm also in the process of finishing up 2 Twisted Crowns right now. And I've been reading the Zodiac Academy for what feels like the better part of a year and a half now with my best friend. We're on the second to the last one, so I can kind of see the end of the tunnel, but not really, because the last 2 books are 1,200 pages each, and I don't want to think about it right now. So I think the best course of action would be to start another book and then just kind of pretend that I'm not reading the other ones. Cool. Maybe I'll do like a random number generator to figure out which one of these I want to read to actually give them a chance, because otherwise I'm going with this. Okay, y'all, so I did the number generator thing off camera because I don't know how to do that while I'm doing this. So, of course, Siri decided to pick the 2 books that were already in my TBR. Maybe she's trying to tell me something that I don't know. So the first one was Legendborn, the second one was Babel. So I think I'll start with that one, I'll move to that one, and then we'll kind of move from there. Maybe I'll pick the other ones, but I just think it's funny that it's like the 2 that are already there. It's like, get your shit together, girl, to read what you already have, okay? So we're gonna start with Legendborn. Yay! So if you're like me at all and have lived under a rock and haven't read this book, I think I can kind of go over what it's about with you. Hello. So the last clip was obviously me doing the TBR. It's a little bit later now in the evening. I've actually started Legendborn, which is fun. I like it so far. It's good. My original plan was to just record myself reading Legendborn and kind of going through that. But this video already feels like it's getting like a little bit long with just the TBR section. So I think I'm going to end this one here. But thank you very much for watching. Hopefully the next video is kind of me going into my TBR and actually reading it. But yeah, thank you so much. Hope you have a good rest of your day.